everyone. Welcome to Life in Full Send, Athletes Reimagined, the podcast where we discuss the experience of redefining life after being an athlete. I am your host, Liz Hall, an integration specialist and your teammate in navigating the big question, what comes after sports? Each week, I sit down with former athletes who have faced that very question and share how they navigated the transition. I have been counting down the days for this guest. His principles, no pun intended, are to make an impact, act with integrity, and be thoughtful. My guest, high school in Syracuse, New York, had a record for blocked shots held by former NBA player Andre Blatt, who had 290 in the books. My guest beat the record with 506 blocked shots. It was not a question of if my guest today would play basketball. It was what team would he play for? He was John Beilein's first recruit as head coach at the University of Michigan, helping the Wolverines to the NCAA tournament after an 11-season drought. Graduating from the University of Michigan, but saw the light and moved on to Michigan State for his master's degree in education. After a career-ending injury, my guest today talks about all of the feelings that come with that. I am so honored to have Ben Cronin on the podcast today. What would you say warning signs are that an athlete is grieving and maybe they don't even know it?
Yeah, I don't think before that point I'm lucky to say this. I don't think I had ever dealt with a depression. And so I don't think I necessarily understood that I was deeply depressed. Some of the classic signs for depression are certainly things when I look back that I remember that should have been calling me to say I need to be talking more. I need to maybe start therapy, which I hadn't even attempted until way later on post-college. I think it took me some time to realize that those behaviors I was forming were connected to the feeling. I knew that, like you said, you kind of know what's hurting you, right? But I hadn't necessarily realized yet that I'm doing these things because of these hard feelings in this area. I just was like, I'm enjoying this right now. I know it's not great for me, but I think some of those signs that I'm not dealing with my emotions in healthy ways, that I'm feeling these prolonged feelings of depression. And it's funny because if someone listening to this who would be close to me, they might even say, I didn't realize you dealt with this so deeply. So we hide it in so many different ways, and we try to just put on a good face. I just remember those feelings of me being like, oh, I'm depressed. Like, this is depression. This is what I see in the movies. This is what I hear about, right?
Depression will show up in different ways for different people. So was it heavy? Were you tired? Were you not interested in things that you normally were interested in? Do you remember any of that?
I think that it was a little bit more subtle for me. I do remember feeling like I had lost a joy in myself that I feel like I always had. I grew up being a joyful middle child, wanting everyone to get along, just kind of a social extrovert. And I do remember feeling like something in me had changed, and that there was an anger. That anger that I had, though, I didn't share it with people very often. It was something I felt, kind of like the darkness that I was feeling, and I didn't talk about as much with other people.
And you
So
didn't act out? Did you act out? Because that's common too.
I know. And especially as an educator, I see so many of my students who I know are just angry because they've been through it a lot more than I've ever been through, right? And I see it. I wasn't acting out. I think it affected my schoolwork, my motivation, some of those self-soothing habits. But I just remember being so dang angry. I think maybe some really close people to me knew because I would tell them. But I felt it. I carried it. I was probably starting some pretty, hard habits of drinking, eating, partying, seeking validation from relationships, and a lot of things that you tend to do when you're hurting. Realizing that, like, there's purpose for me, outside of basketball and being, a 7-foot basketball player, right? There's purpose and connection and community. That was huge for me. I also think, like, jumping in and finding my career, being in education. I started my first teaching job at Jalen Rose Leadership Academy. So kind of my Michigan connection with Jalen, my first job, for 5 years, and loved it. But there's kind of a purpose there that I felt really connected to, like, my ability to impact somebody else's life in education. Your capacity to help people was another way I refound a new calling.
Do you think that it was the shared purpose in a goal, or the belonging or sense of belonging that the team gave you that was the biggest void for you?
I think the immediate pain was I'm no longer a part of the team. So I'm separated, like, even though they tell me I am, I'm not, right? I'm at the practice and I'm not a real part of it. So that was the immediate pain. But I think the settling into the realization of the identity piece was the hardest thing, was just now seeing myself as not an athlete anymore, and not a 7-foot basketball player.
Because what went through your mind? If I'm not a basketball player, then what?
If I'm not a basketball player, I think part of it was the simple surface level. That's like, I just have to answer for this for the rest of my life. I'm the 7-foot non-basketball player now, right? I don't have this great career to say. I think there's a layer that I had big goals that I don't get to accomplish now, right? The game's changed a lot. I don't think 7-footers or really tall people now have the same expectations to be in the NBA as they did back then. The big man was so much more of a vital tool in the way we played. And now, I just think the game is more dynamic. But at the time, it was like, you're 7 feet tall, you're going to go to the NBA, when I was growing up. And so there was that, I have these goals, I want to do these things. So there was kind of like the embarrassment that I'm not who I wanted to be or what I wanted to be. And I have to answer for that. There was like I didn't reach my goals. I didn't get to do it. And then there was also that, I studied education in college, totally expecting to not use my degree, and remembered my teachers and my coaches who had such an impact. So I studied it because it was something I could maybe do one day if I ever needed.
If a listener is feeling like they don't know who they are without sports, what would you say to them right now?
It will totally get better. And there's zero doubt in my mind, having been through it, that we are all created for connecting and engaging with the world. So I would say that you were made to do that. And I think we all get so lost in the identity of what role should I play? Am I an educator? Am I this? Am I that? And I would encourage anyone who's struggling with their identity, whether it be, work, family, to just realize that your humanity has so much value just because, and that you're a loved creature, you're a loved being, right? But doing things for others, I think, and serving and engaging with others in beautiful, positive ways, all those things that I think bring out our truest forms of humanity, both sharing and receiving gratitude, right? All those things that give us those natural, deep feelings of connectedness are all the things I realize in the long run are what brought me out of that. So I would say dive deeply into whatever community is helping you do that, and whether it be a faith community, serving others, put yourself into it in a way that gives you that gratification of doing good for others and doing good for the world. And those are the things that I think center us all back into humanity and bring us back to our deepest core connected, place of who am I? What's my role? And something I tell my students, whenever you feel lost, go out and do something for somebody else. Whenever you feel like you don't know what to do, go do something for somebody. There's so much clarity in the feeling you get from that, and just connects you back to your real purpose. Those were all the tools I found that actually stuck and really worked.
Ben, thank you so much for your time, your heart, and your generosity in sharing. Your vulnerability is so powerful, and I'm so grateful to have it on the pod. If this episode inspired you, please share it with a fellow athlete or friend navigating their next chapter, especially if they have a career-ending injury. We're all just writing our playbooks as we go. Please make sure to follow and subscribe to Life in Full Send Athletes Reimagined on YouTube. And if you loved that episode, please drop a quick comment so we can reach more incredible athletes who may need to feel seen and heard. Next week, we will continue the conversation around new beginnings, hopefully inspiring ideas of what's possible for life after sports. Until next time, please remember, the game ends, a chapter ends, but your story doesn't. Keep living your life in full send.